Ditch this with the craziest coincidence that has happened to you.
So I have a best friend. Her name's Sam. We've been friends for about 5 years, and we're 6 years apart in age. Anyway, we meet, we become instant best friends, and we decide, like, in a month, we're going to go to Vegas. So, month rolls by, we fly to Vegas, we check into the hotel, put all of our stuff away quickly, get our bathing suits on, and decide that we need to lock up our valuables in the hotel safe. So I say to her, Sam, what would you like the safe number to be? Because I can remember any number. And she says, 4317. And I say, 4317, that's random. Why would you want it to be 4317? And she said, well, that's the last four of my social security number, so it's easy for me to remember. And I said, that's the last four of my social security number. How weird is that?
In 2009, my friends and I traveled from Oakland, California to Oaxaca, Mexico in an RV. A couple hours out of Ciudad Valles, we camped between a sugarcane field and a river. We met a man who was camping up the road, and he was traveling north while we were traveling south. That night, he came and invited us to have hot dogs and share his campfire with him, and we exchanged ghost stories. The next morning, I was bringing him breakfast, and his campsite was gone. There was no sign of a fire or his car or this tiny little pup tent that he was sleeping in. Since he practically vanished, we joked and called him the ghost, and we just thought he was someone we would never see again. 3 months later, I'm living in San Agustinillo, Oaxaca, and underneath my window, I wake up, and right on the beach is his tiny little pup tent. 1,200 miles away, 3 months later, and this man is camping right under my window. I'll tell you the spooky parts in part 2.
So first of all, I'm from Kentucky, and in 2018 I studied abroad in Florence, Italy, and me and my friends were at a museum, and we're excited to go see this painting. You're probably like, Sarah, if you're excited to see it, why is that picture so bad? Because I am taking a picture of this girl right here, because she went to elementary school with me and grew up pretty close to me, and I never really knew her, but then I'm in Florence across the world, and she just happens to be there looking at the same painting as me.
So ever since I can remember, I've been like obsessed with sequential number. Like the number, like the time 1111, I always like point it out. I don't know why. But that's my thing. So I found out I was pregnant with my little girl on January 1st of 2009. Her due date was September 13th, 2009. So I started looking at the calendar, and I was like, oh my gosh, how cool would it be if she was born on September 9th? That way her birthday would be 090909. Everybody in my life was like, Brooke, that's a long shot. That's never going to happen. Like, no. So I kind of gave up hope that it would. On September 8th at 2:30ish p.m., I went into labor, thinking I was going to have her by midnight because I was 20 and had no idea about anything with labor. 25 and a half hours later, she was born at 4:21 p.m. Her birthday is September 9th, 2009. So I got my 090909.
When my husband and I moved to the United States, we lived with a friend for a couple of months until we found a place to move. And on those 3 months, I ordered like a ton of things from Amazon because I had nothing. And there was one package that never arrived. They issued a refund and everything, and it said it was delivered, but it wasn't. So the crazy part of the story is that we moved to an apartment complex that was a few blocks away. And when we were signing the lease, the person that was with us said, oh, you are Maria? And I said, yes, Maria Ferrer. I was like, yeah, why? Okay, I think this is yours. And she gave me the Amazon package that was delivered for me to an address that I didn't move in yet.
So we're going to call this a coincidence, or I'll just call it crazy. So growing up, from the time I can remember, I wanted a lot of siblings. It was just me and my sister. My oldest sister, she passed away from cancer. So every holiday, every birthday, even Valentine's Day, guys, I would be asking for an older brother. One that played sports, one that looked like me, one that was 10 years older than me, right? Okay, get the picture? So on Valentine's Day, of course, I was like, I got my little Valentine's Day box from my parents, and I was like, where's my brother? Where's my brother? I want my brother. I want a brother. Let's get a brother. Triggered my mom. She totally exploded. And she's like, you do have an older brother. He is older than you. You do look like him. And I was the only one in my family that did not know. So fast forward 3 years, when I was 21, I met my brother.
Yeah, so I said happy birthday to my husband 9 years before I met him. Okay, now let me give you this story. So when I was in 9th grade, I was talking to this guy who lived in Kansas and I lived in Arkansas. And randomly one day I saw that he had posted happy birthday to one of his friends from school. And that just happened to be on November 11th, 2011. So 11/11/11, which I thought was so cool. Because I thought that was so cool, I decided to also say happy birthday to this random guy from his school. Here's the post. Don't know you, but happy birthday, November 11th, 2011. Well, fast forward a few years, I ended up moving to Kansas for school and met this guy, fell in love, and we got engaged and eventually got married. And there he is, the guy that I said happy birthday to in 2011, 9 years before I ever met him.
In college, I was studying in Paris, and I met a girl there who was just great. We had a fantastic time, hit it off, totally platonic, but great friends. And we walked all over the city, talking and hanging out, having coffee. And at one point, she sits me down and she says, look, there's something you need to know about me and my family. If you want to know more about us, she says, my dad is gay. And I said, no way, so's mine. And so we talked about that and connected. And then at one point, her dad came to visit, and we spent some time with him, spent a dinner with him, and he left after a few days. And I was walking into our student office, and my friend was sitting there, and she stood up really quickly, grabbed my arm, took me outside, said, sit down. I said, what's going on? She said, my dad recognized you. I said, what are you talking about? And I was trying to think of all the clubs I'd gone to in LA. And she said, no, he recognized you from the photograph on your dad's mantle. They had gone on a date. Didn't hit it off, but wow.
Okay, so I had this boyfriend. We were together for over 3 years. He lived with me. I kid you not. I took care of him money-wise, financially. Like, I was the fucking breadwinner in the relationship. And he took advantage of me so fucking much. He was a narcissist, an abuser, and a cheater. But I never had proof that he was cheating on me. And every time I try to leave him or bring it up, he'd call me crazy. He'd gaslight me, say I'm selfish, and that how could I leave him living in his car, blah, blah, blah. So then one night, I'm literally on my knees praying to God. And I never would pray back then. I'm praying to God, and I'm like, please, if you're real, please give me a sign, show me, give me proof that he's cheating, because I can't do this. I'm gonna end up marrying this man and being miserable. I hate him. The next day, y'all, he puts his phone on my bed. I didn't have his password because, again, he's a cheater and a liar. So he goes to the living room to fall asleep. 20 minutes later, I end up going to the bedroom. The phone is unlocked. It's on text messages, and the text message reads, I have chlamydia. I don't know how to tell her.
My family has so many of these, it's not even funny. So here's the first one. So my mum made me a dress when I was 3, and I wore this dress, and there's pictures of me in this dress. And then when I grew out of it, we gave it to the op shop. Now, my nan op shops. We op shop. And around 9 years later, Nan came back from the op shop, and she said to us, I got you a dress for Grandma. Now, disclaimer, Grandma is my childhood bear. It was named after my dad's late mother, and all us 3 kids have a really sentimental special bear. So yes, I'm a teenager, and Nan's like, I got you a dress for Grandma, which is fine. So I went and got it. And then whipped out this dress, and I looked at it. That's my dress. Mum's like, oh no, could have been a little bit. No. I know the family albums back to front. It's my dress. So I went and got the picture, and we're like, it was my dress. So my dress had done 9 years around the circuit at the op shops and come back to our op shop, and it is still currently on my bear 24 years later.
Okay, so once I was in the hospital for brain reasons, and one day this therapist comes to talk to me, and weirdly enough, she wasn't my normal therapist, she was covering for my family therapist. So since she's new, I tell her my whole life story about how my parents died and all of that, and then I was bored with the conversation, quite honestly, and I asked her where in New York she was from because she had a strong accent. She said she was from Carnassie, and I was like, oh, cool, my mom grew up in Brooklyn. She said, oh, my uncle was a doctor in Brooklyn. I was like, that's so weird. My grandfather was a doctor in Brooklyn. And then she said my last name out loud and put it together that we were actually second cousins.